What happens when a man with a medical bag comes face to face with a wild lion in the heart of the Savanna? He came to rescue the wounded animal, but a minute later he found himself on the ground. What happened next turned everything upside down in terms of who was the predator and who was the protector. You ever have one of those days where you wake up thinking, yeah, today's the day I make the world a better place, only to find yourself face down in dirt, regretting every life decision that led to that moment? That was me. Logan Carter, wildlife vet, Colorado-born. Thought I was tough. Turns out I was just optimistic and maybe a little stupid. I came to Kenya on a volunteer program to help rescue animals affected by illegal traps. Big, noble cause. Nice PR for the foundation back home, and honestly, I was sick of fixing golden retrievers with seasonal allergies. I wanted something real, something that mattered. So there I was, in 104-degree heat, hiking through tall grass with a med kit slung over my back, mumbling to myself like a crazy man. You're doing something good, Logan. You're helping. Yeah, that's what I told myself anyway. About 2 miles off the reserve boundary, I spotted him, barely more than a cub, maybe 2 years old. One paw caught in a rusted steel snare some idiot had tied to a half-dead tree stump. The poor thing was whimpering. Whimpering. A lion. It made my chest tighten in a way I didn't expect. So, what did I do? The only thing that made sense, I dropped to my knees, opened the med kit, and started talking to the lion like he was a hurt teenager who didn't want stitches. Easy, big guy. I'm here to help. You don't bite me, I don't poke you. Deal? The lion didn't move, just looked at me, scared, confused, in pain. So I went in. I was halfway through cutting the wire when it happened. A sound, low, rumbling, not the cub, behind me. And then a roar so deep I swear it rattled the fillings in my teeth. Before I could blink, I was tackled. I hit the ground hard and my face went into the dirt like the earth had something against me. Then I felt it. Hot breath, sharp claws, weight like a truck on my chest, and eyes, gold, angry eyes. An adult male, huge, furious, and I mean furious in that way only fathers can be when they think you're messing with their kid. My brain short-circuited. There was no running, no reaching for a flare, no dramatic monologue, just the realization that I was about to become a wildlife documentary in the worst possible way. I was helping, I wheezed. Not that it mattered. The lion didn't speak English or care. He let out another growl, low and guttural. His face was inches from mine. His mane brushed my cheek. My whole body screamed to move, to fight, to scream, but all I could do was freeze and wonder what the obituary would say. American vet meets nature. Nature wins. But then, something shifted. And I don't mean spiritually, I mean physically. The lion stopped. Just stopped. His eyes didn't soften, not exactly, but they changed. Like he saw something in me worth sparing. Or maybe he realized I was the idiot who brought the antiseptic and scissors. Either way, he backed off. Not fast, not friendly, just slow and deliberate, like he wanted me to understand I was alive because he allowed it. I lay there for a second, trying to figure out if I'd just imagined the whole thing. My heart was hammering like a bad blues drummer, and every nerve in my body was screaming, "Run, you fool!" But I didn't. I looked over at the young lion, still caught, still bleeding, and the big one, he wasn't leaving. He circled once, then sat down, not between me and the cub, number between the trees and us, like a silent guard. I didn't say thank you. I didn't move. I just breathed, very slowly, very carefully, because one wrong twitch and I was a chew toy again. That was the first moment I realized. I had no idea what kind of story I was stepping into. What happened next changed everything. You won't want to miss how this unfolds. You'd think almost getting mauled by a lion would be the high point of your day. Turns out, that was just the warm-up. I made it back to camp late that night, limping like an old man who lost a bet with gravity. My ribs felt like I'd gone 3 rounds with a freight train, and my clothes smelled like sweat, fear, and lion breath, which, for the record, is not something you want to bottle and sell. The camp was dark, too dark. Now I'd left it with 2 solar-powered lanterns on, a working fridge, and a satellite hotspot that barely qualified as internet but was better than screaming into the void. When I got back, silence. The kind of silence that says, "Hey, something's real wrong here." The tents were slashed. Medical crates? Busted open and tossed around like someone had gone treasure hunting and found disappointment. The satellite rig? Gone. Not broken. Gone. Like someone unbolted it, carried it away, and left behind a neat little pile of wires. Almost polite, really. I stood there for a good minute, hands on my hips, mouth open, trying to decide whether I should be angry or impressed. Then came the sound I did not want to hear. A motorbike, somewhere in the distance. It wasn't part of our team. I knew that. Our guys didn't show up at night, and they didn't leave footprints like the ones around my camp. Big, wide, boots with bad intentions kind of prints. By morning, the temperature had climbed past 100 degrees, and so had my irritation. I tracked down Musa, my local field contact. Former ranger, quiet, smart, not a fan of small talk. He didn't look surprised when I showed him the wreckage. "They warned you," he said. "They?" I asked, knowing full well who he meant. "The ranchers, the guys with money and fences. They don't want you here. Think you're helping the lions stay alive long enough to eat their cows." "That's insane," I snapped. "I'm helping wildlife, period." "They don't see it that way. They see a man fixing predators. That makes you part of the problem." Oh, great. So now I was the villain in someone else's bedtime story. But here's the kicker. It didn't stop me. Maybe it should have. Maybe I should have packed up and flown home. But I couldn't shake that lion's eyes. The trust. The weight of it. That moment where he could have torn me to shreds and didn't. I owed him something. Not just because he let me live, because something about the way he stood guard. It meant something. So what did I do? Exactly what my insurance agent would have begged me not to. I went back. No gear, no internet, just a new med kit, a flashlight, and the kind of determination that makes people either brave or very, very foolish. I followed the same path, past the dry creek bed and through the tall acacia grove. I had no radio, no backup, just a gut feeling and the dumb idea that maybe the lions would remember me, and boy did they. Because as I stepped into that same clearing, that same cursed patch of sun-baked earth, I saw the young lion, still limping, still bleeding, still alive, but I wasn't alone. There were men up on the ridge, at least 3. One had binoculars, the other 2 had rifles, and one of them, the guy with the red cap and the slouch of a man who thinks rules are for other people, looked straight at me. I froze. They weren't here for the lions. They were here for anyone trying to protect them. And in that moment, the only thing standing between me and whatever they had planned was the lion. This is the turning point. Everything you've been waiting for is right here. Stay with me. You're about to see how I turn the tables. There are moments in life when the air gets too still. Not quiet. Dead still. Like nature itself is holding its breath, waiting to see who's going to flinch first. That's exactly what it felt like. I stood there in the heat, sweat running down my back like a broken faucet, with 3 men on a ridge pointing rifles in my direction. Not maybe rifles, not probably rifles. Actual, real, polished wood and cold steel aimed right at me. And I wasn't even armed with anything more threatening than a pair of trauma shears. The young lion was still behind me, paw wounded, ribs showing, eyes half closed, but breathing. That lion had no idea what kind of trouble was walking around on 2 legs with jealous land rights and short tempers. I raised both hands, not because I thought they'd shoot, because I didn't know if they would. and that kind of uncertainty sticks to your bones. Then the guy with the red cap, let's call him Captain Ego, shouted down, "You don't belong here!" Oh, terrific. The poetry of an outlaw with a view. I answered back loud and clear, "This animal's injured. I'm fixing what your traps caused." He smirked. I could see it from 50 yards away. That smug little twitch people get when they think they've already won. "Step away," he said. My brain spun. Backing off meant letting the lion die. Staying meant risking more than I cared to list. And that's when it happened. The bushes to my left started shaking. Not rustling, shaking. And out of that brush stepped the big one. The male lion. The same lion that had slammed me into the dirt 2 days ago like I owed him money. And he was bigger now. Not physically, mentally. His presence swallowed the space around us. His mane caught the sun like wildfire. And he didn't walk like a predator. He walked like a guardian. He didn't look at me. He looked straight at the men on the ridge. And then he roared. I don't mean a cute zoo roar. I mean a ground-shaking, rib-vibrating, make-you-question your life choices kind of roar. The kind that says, "This is my land and I've had enough." The effect was immediate. One of the guys stumbled backward. Another dropped his binoculars. Even Captain Ego took a step. Just one. But it was enough. The lion took 3 slow steps forward, deliberate, daring them to try something. And I realized this wasn't about me anymore. This was a message. This lion, this beast that could have ended me with a swipe, was now standing between me and a threat I couldn't fight on my own. Not because I was worth saving, but because something in him, in that wild, instinctive core, understood I wasn't the enemy. That kind of truth doesn't need translation. Eventually, the men left. Not in a rush, not with a show of shame. But they left, because even bullies know when they've lost the stare down. The lion turned back toward me. He looked me dead in the eyes, and then, just like that, he walked off. Into the trees, silent, majestic, final. I stood there for a long time after, long enough to remember how to breathe again, long enough to patch up the young one and mark the area with a new tag for the rescue team. And later, when I told the story, on camera, in interviews, in front of skeptical folks who thought lions were just mindless predators, I always said the same thing. They're not monsters. They're not trophies. They're not your enemy. They remember. And sometimes, they choose. That lion chose to let me live. Then he chose to stand with me. And now I choose to tell his story, because someone needs to. This was more than survival. This was connection, justice, and a raw, unforgettable moment that proved the wild has more memory and more mercy than most men.